"Oh, Nana, it seems there's been an unfortunate glitch with your booking. You'll have to sit this one out." Serena's voice was as sweet and cloying as a syrupy dessert, but her eyes held the glint of a predator, sealing its kill. Standing there, at Heathrow Terminal 5, the cacophony of departing families and joyous reunions blurring around me, the cold, hard truth slammed into my gut. $28,000. That's what I'd transferred for this supposed family pilgrimage to Rome. And they'd planned to leave me behind all along. If you're watching this, please subscribe and tell me where you are. My name is Alara Vance, and at 68, I genuinely thought I'd witnessed every variation of familial betrayal. I was mistaken. Just 3 months earlier, when my son Liam had first floated the idea of a family trip to celebrate our dwindling time together, I'd been ecstatic. "Mom, wouldn't it be incredible if we all went to Rome? Kieran would adore the Colosseum, and Serena's always dreamed of the Spanish Steps." The way he'd said it, so casual, so affectionate. It never occurred to me who would foot the bill. I simply wired the funds, as I always did. Serena, my daughter-in-law, had readily volunteered to orchestrate everything. "Don't fret, Alara. I'm a whiz with itineraries. Consider it handled." She'd flashed that flawless smile of hers, the one that had captivated me for 2 decades of marriage to my son. I'd handed over my card details without a moment's hesitation. Luxury suites, private tours, business class travel for all 5 of us. Only the best for this memorable occasion, she'd insisted. Now, at the departure gate, watching Liam stare intently at his phone, refusing to meet my eyes while Serena explained the sudden, inexplicable system error unique to my reservation, the truth dawned. There was no system error. My reservation had never existed. They'd taken my money, meticulously planned their opulent escape, and never had any intention of including me. My grandson, Kieran, 14, flushed crimson, avoiding my gaze. My granddaughter, Anya, 16, just scrolled her social feed, a practiced indifference masking something I couldn't quite decipher. There must be some mistake, I managed, though a chilling certainty had already settled deep within me. Serena shrugged, her designer carry-on slung over her shoulder. "These digital hiccups are so frustrating with transatlantic travel. You understand, don't you? We can't possibly miss our connection." That was the moment I understood the precise nature of their game and decided it was time to write my own rules. 4 months prior, I'd been pottering in my rose garden in the Cotswolds, enjoying my morning tea, when Liam's call came. "Mom, I have an idea that might sound wild, but hear me out." He'd always been a charmer, my Liam. Even as a little boy, he could sweet-talk the local shopkeeper out of an extra treat or talk his teachers into extensions. At 42, that glib charm had sharpened into something predatory, though my loving maternal blindness had kept me from seeing it clearly. Serena and I were talking, and we realized Anya's off to university soon. Kieran will be choosing his path before we know it. We want to forge some unforgettable family memories before they're swallowed up by their own lives. His voice held that wistful quality that always made me want to mend whatever sorrow he perceived. "What would you think about all of us taking a trip together somewhere truly special?" I'd set down my teacup, already feeling the familiar warmth that enveloped me whenever my family included me in their plans. Since Arthur passed 5 years ago, those invitations had become incredibly precious. "What did you have in mind?" "Rome," he'd whispered, and I could hear the excitement bubbling in his tone. A winter pilgrimage to Rome. Can you imagine? We could explore the Vatican, savor authentic pasta every day. Serena found this exquisite boutique hotel overlooking the Forum. The way he painted the picture, I could envision all of us wandering through Trastevere, laughing over dinner at a bustling trattoria, watching Anya and Kieran discover an ancient world. It sounded perfect. Too good to be true, my inner cynic warned. But I silenced that nagging voice. This was my family wanting to spend time with me. "It sounds absolutely wonderful, sweetheart. When were you thinking?" "December 18th to the 26th. "I know." Liam's suggestion. "I know it's a considerable sum, especially for 5, but Serena and I have been setting aside funds," should have blared an alarm. Liam, a middle manager in corporate logistics, earned a respectable salary, yet it was far from extravagant. Serena's boutique art gallery position, while prestigious, was part-time. The luxurious Roman expedition he was outlining would easily exceed their combined annual income. Yet, when a cherished son crafts such a vivid dream, one doesn't scrutinize finances. One simply embraces the vision and finds a way to manifest it. "How substantial are we talking?" I'd asked. "Around $28,000 for the entire experience," he'd replied, "including the exquisite hotels, business-class flights, private tours, and all the gourmet trattorias. It's a significant investment, but imagine the indelible memories we'll forge." His tone shifted to that practiced, charming persuasiveness he employed in negotiations. "Kieran and Anya will cherish this pilgrimage forever." My hesitation was non-existent. "Consider it my early Yuletide gift to you all." That very afternoon, I'd telephoned Serena to go over the particulars. She'd been effervescent, already armed with a list of charming restaurants and must-see galleries. "Oh, Alara, this will be absolutely magical. I'll manage all the reservations. My digital prowess means we can align every detail flawlessly." Reflecting now, stranded at that bustling terminal, observing my family's carefree departure without me, I could only marvel at how I'd misjudged the cynical calculus underpinning her boundless excitement. The initial tremor of unease should have come from the pervasive secrecy. In the ensuing weeks after our initial chat, every attempt I made to delve into the trip's specifics was met with Serena's evasiveness. "No need to trouble yourself, Alara. I have every single component perfectly orchestrated." If I volunteered assistance with research or requested the hotel confirmation, she would flash her dazzling smile and subtly pivot the conversation. "Your only task is to pack your bags and anticipate the wonder. This voyage is meant to be as much a delightful surprise for you as for the children." At 68, I was hardly a novice to life's deceits. I'd navigated the tempestuous waters of raising 4 children, endured 35 years of marriage, and weathered the profound grief of burying Arthur. I possessed an innate radar for disingenuousness, yet I also knew the searing sting of exclusion from cherished family gatherings. My desperate hope was to believe my son and daughter-in-law truly desired my presence. The second glaring anomaly surfaced a fortnight before our scheduled departure. Serena had called, a casual inquiry about my passport's validity for international travel. Confirming its currency, I noticed a slight hesitation on her end. "Could you possibly snap a photo of it and send it to me? For the airline bookings, you see?" I'd promptly captured and messaged the image, a small surge of pride in my smartphone prowess. 3 days later, her voice on the phone again. "Alara, a minor adjustment. Our initial hotel choice experienced an unfortunate overbooking, so I've had to reallocate us to a different, equally charming establishment. Still utterly beautiful, still perfectly situated, merely a revised confirmation." She'd recited a string of digits, which I dutifully transcribed, despite sensing an unsettling artificiality in her delivery. The third, and most colossal harbinger of deceit, nearly slipped past me. The previous Thursday, precisely 7 days before our supposed departure, I'd ventured to a bustling shopping center for a few final travel essentials. Emerging from a prominent department store, my gaze landed on Serena across the vibrant food court, engrossed in conversation with her sister, Rebecca. Nothing inherently odd until I drew closer and the snippets of their exchange reached my ears. "I'm still astounded you're seeing this through," Rebecca murmured, her voice laced with disbelief. "It's genuinely heartless, even for you." Serena's laughter was a brittle, caustic sound. "She'll recover. Besides, someone needs to demonstrate that wealth cannot secure a spot where one is fundamentally unwelcome." I froze, momentarily concealed by a decorative column, my shopping bag suddenly leaden as their words carved into my consciousness. Rebecca shook her head slowly. "But $28,000, Serena. That's an egregious amount to abscond with." "Consider it an overdue education in personal limits," Serena retorted, her tone chilling. "She'll finally grasp that showering money on every predicament doesn't render her indispensable." I retreated imperceptibly, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs, and dedicated the remainder of the week to self-delusion. It couldn't possibly be what I'd overheard, not from my own flesh and blood. Yet here I stood at the departure gate, confronting Serena's cool, calculating smirk. The icy composure on Serena's face as she delivered her perfectly rehearsed lines about the inexplicable system error, a chilling certainty solidified within me. The faint hope I'd clung to disintegrated. The Alara of old, perhaps even of last week, would have crumbled into a tearful mess, pleading for a resolution, perhaps even offering to book a new first-class seat on the spot. But the week leading up to this moment, filled with gnawing suspicion, had forged a new resolve within me. The woman now standing at Heathrow Terminal 5 was no longer the soft touch who'd habitually bankrolled every supposed family emergency for the past half-decade. "You know, Serena," I stated, my voice remarkably even, a deceptive calm belying the storm within, "these digital mishaps can be terribly inconvenient." I shifted my gaze to Liam, whose intense focus on his mobile screen betrayed his unease. "Do have an utterly magnificent time in Rome, darling. I trust it will surpass every one of your aspirations." The familiar winding journey in the black cab, leaving the controlled chaos of the airport behind for my tranquil Cotswolds cottage, offered precisely 58 minutes for strategy. Not reaction, but response. I've learned that distinction over 68 years. A reaction is raw, often regrettable. A response is an art, measured, deliberate, and undeniably gratifying. By the moment my driver pulled up to my stone gate, my course of action was crystal clear. Stepping inside my quiet cottage, I brewed a strong Earl Grey and settled at the oak kitchen table, my laptop already humming. If Serena believed her fleeting digital competence could outwit a woman who'd navigated household accounts and managed budgets since before Serena herself was a twinkle in her mother's eye, she was in for a rude awakening. My late husband, Arthur, had been a forensic accountant. 40 years of marriage to him had instilled in me an almost obsessive dedication to documentation. I meticulously sifted through my inbox, retrieving every single confirmation email, every booking reference, every digital receipt Serena had forwarded over the past 3 months. Luxury suite reservations at the Palazzo Sereno, overlooking the Forum. Business class flights to Fiumicino, exclusive private Vatican tours, opulent dining experiences in Trastevere, even tickets to a lavish opera at Teatro dell'Opera di Roma. Every last detail had been booked squarely in my name, and every single penny had been paid with my platinum credit card, which meant, quite unequivocally, that every single element remained entirely within my legal purview to alter or revoke. The Grand Palazzo Sereno was first on my list. 5 nights, 2 adjoining luxury suites, a cool $3,800. I dialed their direct reservation line. After navigating a few automated menus, I connected with a charmingly efficient woman whose name, I believe, was Sophia. "Ah, Signora Vance, how may I assist with your booking?" Her Italian accent was delightful, her English impeccable. "Actually, Sophia," I began, maintaining a calm, almost serene tone, "I need to cancel the entire reservation. There's been an unforeseen family matter." I braced for resistance. "I appreciate there might be cancellation charges." Sophia paused, typing. "Let me just verify." "Ah, yes, your booking falls under our flexi-stay policy. No penalty whatsoever if canceled more than 24 hours prior to check-in. As your arrival is slated for tomorrow, you are perfectly within the time frame. Shall I proceed with the full cancellation?" "Yes, please, Sophia," I confirmed, a flicker of satisfaction sparking within me. "Consider it done, Signora. A full refund of $3,800 will be processed to your card within 3 to 5 business days. I do hope your family situation finds a swift and positive resolution." If only she knew just how positively it was about to resolve. Next, the flights. This proved a significantly more arduous task, involving interminable hold music, several misdirected transfers, and a truly frustrating 40-minute wait. But eventually, a remarkably patient agent finally answered. Business class tickets, 5 passengers, direct to Rome Fiumicino, at $3,900 each. Unlike the hotel, these did indeed incur substantial cancellation penalties. Yet, even factoring in the charges for 5 premium seats, a triumphant $14,000 would still be making its way back to my account. The array of luxury excursions proved far simpler. the private guided tour of the Vatican museums, the exclusive after-hours access to the Colosseum, the artisan pasta-making class in Trastevere, the day trip to the Tuscan vineyards for a private tasting. One by glorious one, I systematically canceled them all. Each immediate cancellation confirmation that pinged into my inbox felt less like a simple email and more like a resonant chime of triumph. The most difficult call, surprisingly, was to Il Cenacolo, the renowned Michelin-starred restaurant where Liam had made such a point of securing their Christmas Eve dinner reservation. He had waxed poetic about proposing a toast there, celebrating enduring family traditions amidst the ancient grandeur of Rome. The maitre d' was exceptionally gracious and understanding when I explained, with carefully cultivated vagueness, that there had been a rather significant alteration to our party's plans. By the stroke of 7 that evening, the digital guillotine had fallen. Every single reservation, every painstakingly curated booking, every last detail of their dream Roman holiday had been systematically dismantled. A quick call to my credit card company confirmed that the substantial refunds were already in motion, cascading back into my account. And now, the truly delightful phase was about to begin. I opened a fresh document on my laptop, a subtle smile playing on my lips. I opened my laptop and began typing. "Dear Liam and Serena," I started, "I trust your flight to Rome was precisely what you deserved. By now, you've likely arrived at the opulent Palazzo Sereno, only to find that your suites have been quite thoroughly unbooked." I paused, a wry smile playing on my lips as I pictured the expressions on their faces. I continued, "Given your explicit decision to exclude me from this family pilgrimage, I naturally concluded you would also prefer that my funds did not underwrite it. I have, therefore, taken the liberty of rescinding all the reservations I so generously financed. This includes your luxury suites, your return business class flights, all those meticulously planned private tours, your gourmet restaurant bookings, and even your tickets to that lavish opera at Teatro dell'Opera di Roma. Consider it a masterclass in the unforeseen repercussions of hubris. You see, when one conspires to abscond with $28,000 from someone, particularly while plotting their public humiliation, it's generally wise to ensure that person lacks the means to unravel your entire scheme with a few well-placed phone calls. I may be 68, but the foolish old woman you so clearly envision is merely a figment of your own limited imagination. The Palazzo Sereno confirmed your checkout for this morning, effective immediately. Your direct flights home have been voided, though I imagine you'll find no shortage of budget airlines willing to sell you new tickets at current, rather inflated rates. I briefly checked. Last-minute flights during peak holiday season can easily reach $4,000 per person. I sincerely hope you brought a supplementary platinum card or two, and please spare yourselves the indignity of contacting me for assistance. My mobile will be blissfully dormant for the foreseeable future, as I intend to revel in a delightful staycation within the exquisite comfort of my own home, indulging in the newly repatriated funds. Perhaps this little excursion will teach you to reconsider before treating your family like an inexhaustible financial resource with expendable emotions. Merry Christmas from the serene Cotswolds. With maternal affection, Alara. P.S. I've slipped this missive into Serena's cosmetic case. By the time you stumble upon it, I anticipate you will have already discovered that your Roman fantasy has devolved into a considerably expensive reality check. I printed the note on my finest stationery, folded it with meticulous care, and allowed myself a moment of profound satisfaction. Earlier that very afternoon, while they were navigating the chaos of airport security, I had subtly returned to their departure gate. Locating Serena's designer carry-on beneath Liam's unoccupied seat, it took mere seconds to unzip her makeup bag and insert my carefully crafted message. The true elegance of my strategy wasn't solely in the systematic cancellations. It resided in the precision of its timing. They would inevitably encounter the hotel debacle first, no doubt attributing it to some nebulous technical malfunction. They would squander hours at the front desk, frantically making calls, convinced it was a correctable error. Only when Serena later opened her cosmetic bag that evening would the chilling truth fully materialize. This was no accident. I poured a generous glass of a fine Sauvignon Blanc and dialed my dearest friend, Beth. We had forged our bond when our children were in primary school, and she alone had possessed the uncanny foresight to discern Serena's true nature from the outset. "Alara, how was your flight? Are you calling from Rome?" Beth's voice was bright. "I'm calling from my kitchen in the Cotswolds," I replied, a distinct note of quiet triumph in my tone. "What on earth happened? Don't tell me they canceled the trip," Beth exclaimed. "Oh, the trip proceeded," I corrected. "I simply wasn't afforded the privilege of participating. It appears that being the sole financier offered no guarantee of a seat on the aircraft." A beat of stunned silence from Beth. Then she erupted. "They did not abandon you at the airport. Alara, please tell me you're fabricating this." "They certainly did, Beth. They left me right there at the terminal. But fear not. I've ensured their Roman adventure will be etched into their memories, though not precisely for the reasons they intended." I recounted every meticulous detail: the hushed conversation overheard at the shopping center, the indignity at the departure gate, and my industrious afternoon of comprehensive reservation annihilation. By the time I concluded, Beth was laughing so uncontrollably tears streamed down her face. "Alara Vance, you magnificent, utterly ruthless woman. I've been patiently awaiting your moment of reckoning with that manipulative little viper for 16 years. Perhaps I should have acted sooner," I conceded. "The crucial element is that you acted now," she affirmed. "How do you feel, my dear?" I considered her question, genuinely reflecting. How did I feel? "Free," I declared, the word a revelation. "For the first time in years, Beth, I feel utterly, completely untethered." That night, I succumbed to a restorative sleep, deeper and more peaceful than any I had known in months. The inaugural text message arrived at precisely 2:47 a.m. My time, which I noted with a flicker of satisfaction, translated to 8:47 a.m. in Rome. I was aware of this because, despite my earlier profound exhaustion, I had been wide awake, compulsively checking my phone every few minutes. When it finally vibrated, the phone's vibration pulled me from the deepest slumber I'd had in months, and a surge of profound vindication, sharper than any espresso, coursed through me. Liam's initial text, a clipped, almost petulant complaint, popped onto the screen. "Mom, something's seriously amiss with the hotel booking." Barely 30 seconds later, a second message landed, the tone now verging on frantic. "They're claiming our reservation was inexplicably voided. We're stranded in the reception with all our luggage, and the children are utterly distraught." I simply flipped the phone face down, letting the faint hum against the antique pine table provide a lullaby to my renewed sleep. 2 hours later, a veritable fusillade of notifications jolted me awake again. 7 messages from Liam in quick succession, each one escalating in panic. "The concierge is utterly useless. We can't find a single available room anywhere in the city. What on earth happened with the booking, Mom? This isn't remotely amusing anymore. Anya and Kieran are exhausted, genuinely terrified. Please, just respond." I ignored the frantic pleading. Instead, I took my time preparing a proper breakfast. Fluffy buttermilk pancakes, crafted from scratch, exactly the way Arthur used to adore them. A generous dollop of rich clotted cream, drizzled with the finest organic maple syrup, and a scattering of vibrant ruby-red strawberries. I ate with leisurely enjoyment, savoring every morsel as my phone continued its insistent buzzing on the kitchen counter. Around midday, Serena's number flashed across the display. I allowed it to ring out, then, with a mischievous glint in my eye, played her voicemail on speaker for the entire kitchen to enjoy. "Alara." Her voice was a taut wire, strained with barely suppressed rage. "I haven't the faintest idea what childish charade you imagine you're performing, but this farce needs to cease immediately. We are in a foreign country, with 2 increasingly distressed children, and we urgently require accommodation. Any petty grievance you harbor against us can be addressed when we return home, but right now, you need to rectify this colossal error." The sheer audacity, the breathtaking sense of entitlement in her demand, was almost comical. Even after I'd laid bare their deceit, she still fully expected me to be their convenient troubleshooter. The next voicemail was from Anya, my 16-year-old granddaughter. Her voice was small, wavering, stripped of its usual teenage bravado. "Grandma, I don't understand any of this. Dad won't explain anything, and Mom's been crying non-stop. We're stuck in this terribly noisy cafe and everyone just looks so frightened. Please, could you just call us back? I miss you." That earnest plea, tinged with genuine fear, nearly shattered my carefully constructed facade. Nearly. But I resolutely reminded myself that Anya's predicament was entirely the consequence of her parents' avarice and cruel machinations, not mine. They had willingly exploited my generosity for a lavish holiday they never intended me to share. Now they were merely reaping the fruits of their choices. As evening descended, the messages grew truly desperate. Liam's voice, when it finally came, was strained and cracking, laced with a palpable fear. He explained they'd finally secured a room in a dilapidated inn on the outskirts of the city, a place that felt decidedly unsafe, at a price 3 times what a luxury suite should have cost. "Mom, please, I know you're furious, but the children don't deserve this. We're all genuinely scared. We're quickly running out of the contingency funds we brought, and we have absolutely no idea what to do." I simply switched my phone off. The rest of the evening was spent in the peaceful ritual of wrapping Christmas gifts for my neighbor's children. Thoughtful, carefully chosen presents, a stark contrast to the transactional nature of the money Liam and Serena had sought to exploit. The following morning, I reactivated my phone. A digital avalanche awaited me. 43 missed calls, 17 new voicemails. Their progression charted a familiar, satisfying arc. Initial bewilderment, spiraling into panic, then simmering fury, finally dissolving into abject pleading. The ultimate message was from Serena, her voice curdled into pure venom. "You vindictive old witch! I hope you're truly ecstatic. We're utterly stranded in Rome, with no finances and no means of returning home. And it's all thanks to your pathetic inability to cope with being excluded from one insignificant little trip. This is precisely why absolutely no one tolerates you. You're a toxic, self-absorbed, pitiable creature. Don't you dare expect to lay eyes on your grandchildren again once we finally manage to escape this hell." I deleted the message instantly, then poured myself another cup of Earl Grey. Serena had, with remarkable efficiency, revealed the darkest depths of her character, and I had, just as efficiently, preserved the evidence. Sometimes, the most potent retaliation is to simply provide people with enough rope to metaphorically hang themselves. However, her chilling threat regarding Anya and Kieran struck a discordant note. That evening, as I sat enveloped in the quiet comfort of my living room, watching the soft snowfall outside, I couldn't help but wonder if my moment of triumphant satisfaction had irrevocably cost me the precious bond with my grandchildren. Just then, my phone chimed again. An unknown number. It was Anya. Her small, hushed voice, barely audible over the crackling hotel landline, explained that Serena had confiscated her mobile. "Grandma, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm really, truly confused by everything that's happening." She spoke in hurried whispers, clearly terrified of being overheard. Mom and Dad are constantly bickering about money and how they'll ever find another hotel. Dad looks utterly defeated, like he's on the verge of tears. Mom even hurled her phone across the room, and now it's completely shattered. I closed my eyes, the immense weight of the elaborate scheme I'd orchestrated pressing down on me. "Are you truly safe, my precious ones? Do you have somewhere warm to sleep and proper food to eat?" We're crammed into this minuscule hotel room with just 2 uncomfortable beds. There's no heating whatsoever. The bathroom reeks of something awful, and the ceiling is stained with patches of black mold. Mom had to buy some stale bread and a block of cheese from a grimy corner shop. She said, "We simply can't afford proper restaurants anymore." Anya's voice cracked, a fragile sound that twisted my gut. Kieran keeps asking if we've done something wrong, and Dad just sits there, staring blankly at the wall. The old Alara Vance, perhaps even the woman I was a week ago, would have caved instantly. She would have dialed the nearest 5-star establishment and booked them a lavish suite, complete with room service and a personal concierge. But the new Alara, forged in the fires of betrayal, understood that rescuing them now would only reinforce the insidious lesson that manipulation and calculated cruelty eventually got them what they wanted. "Anya, my love, I need you to truly understand something," I said, my voice carefully modulated. This agonizing situation isn't about you or Kieran. It's entirely about choices your parents made, choices they foolishly believed came without consequence. But what choices? What happened to our magnificent hotel? Dad keeps insisting it was some sort of computer malfunction, but Mom just screams about how you've utterly ruined everything. Smart girl, I thought, a flicker of pride igniting amidst the pain. At 16, she was already beginning to see through the flimsy veil of her parents' deceptions. Your mother and father meticulously planned this entire lavish vacation using my money, Anya. However, they never, not for a single moment, intended for me to join you. They quite deliberately left me at Heathrow Airport. The silence that followed was so profound, so elongated, that I truly believed the connection had snapped. When Anya finally spoke again, her voice had undergone a startling transformation. It was colder, sharper, imbued with a newfound maturity that startled me. They left you at the airport on purpose? Yes, my dear, on purpose. After I had paid over $30,000 for everyone's business class tickets, the exquisite hotel, all the private tours, and those extravagant dining experiences. Oh my God, she whispered, the words barely audible. Another long pause, filled with the static hum of a landline. That's why you canceled everything. You took it all away because they abandoned you. The realization in her voice was devastating. I canceled everything, Anya, because someone needed to demonstrate to your parents that actions carry profound consequences. I am profoundly sorry that you and Kieran have been caught in the middle of this appalling mess. But your parents placed you there, not me. Mom said you were just being spiteful, Anya retorted, a hint of steel entering her tone. But you were actually supposed to come with us, weren't you? This was meant to be a family trip. I could almost hear the intricate pieces of the puzzle clicking into place within her intelligent teenage mind. She lied to me, Anya continued, her voice filled with dawning horror. She told me you decided at the very last minute that you simply didn't want to travel. I never made any such decision, Anya. I was at the departure gate, suitcase in hand, ready to board our flight when your mother calmly informed me there had been an inexplicable mix-up with my ticket. Anya's breathing was ragged and shaky. I'm so sorry, Grandma. I truly didn't know. Nobody, not a single person, told us what really happened. Another heartbreaking pause. Are we just going to be stuck here indefinitely? That, my darling, depends entirely on what your parents decide to do. They will figure something out. I hope, I added, striving to sound far more confident than I actually felt. I have to go. Mom's coming back from the front desk and she looks absolutely furious. Anya's voice dropped to a barely perceptible whisper. I love you, Grandma. I'm so sorry they were so unbelievably cruel to you. The line went dead, leaving me in the echoing quiet of my Cotswolds cottage, feeling the profound, crushing weight of what I had done. My grandchildren were, without a doubt, innocent casualties in this bitter conflict. Witnessing their suffering, knowing it was a direct result of their parents' greed and my carefully orchestrated revenge, was infinitely harder than I had ever anticipated. But sometimes, the only way to genuinely teach bullies a lasting lesson is to resolutely cease enabling their destructive behavior, even when the fallout inevitably ensnares innocent lives. The subsequent 3 days unfolded in an unnerving quiet. No frantic, guilt-laden calls, no desperate, pleading voicemails, no vitriolic, angry threats. Just the occasional clandestine text message from Anya, sent whenever she could sneak access to the hotel's ancient computer, updating me on their increasingly dire situation. They had subsequently moved to an even more dilapidated and considerably cheaper inn on the furthest outskirts of the city. Serena had attempted to charm her way into assistance from the British Embassy, but the diplomatic staff, unmoved by her entitled demands, weren't in the business of solving self-inflicted vacation funding debacles for their constituents. Liam, in a moment of desperation, had tried calling his boss for an advance on his salary. But according to Anya, the narrative, your daughter-in-law abandoned her elderly mother at the airport after stealing her life savings, didn't exactly inspire corporate generosity. Serena's sister, Rebecca, the very same one who had initially questioned the morality of their monstrous scheme, had steadfastly refused to wire them any money for return flights. You made your bed, now lie in it, had been her exact unyielding words. According to Anya, I spent those 3 days doing something I hadn't done in decades, hadn't indulged in for countless moons, truly dedicating time to myself. I meticulously replanted my beloved rose garden, a symbol of growth and renewal, and resurrected my easel, which had gathered dust since Arthur's passing, losing myself in the vibrant hues of oil paints. I reconnected with cherished friends whose calls I'd often postponed during the relentless cycle of familial demands. Evenings, once filled with investment reports, were now spent immersing myself in gripping historical novels. That Wednesday evening, as I sipped a fragrant herbal tea, observing the serene snowfall blanket my Cotswolds garden, my doorbell chimed. Peeking through the spy hole, I saw Beth, a mischievous grin playing on her lips, clutching a bottle of fine Prosecco. "I've arrived with vital moral support," she declared as I unlatched the door, her eyes sparkling. "We're toasting to your magnificent resurgence, Alara." Belle. We settled into the deep armchairs by the crackling fireplace, uncorking the bottle and arranging a platter of artisanal cheeses and crisp crackers. Beth, having followed the unfolding drama with avid interest, radiated a vicarious satisfaction. "Any news today?" she inquired, her gaze fixed on me. Anya had managed a clandestine email from the beleaguered hotel lobby. Apparently, Liam had spent the entirety of the morning at Fiumicino Airport, desperately attempting to secure standby seats on any outgoing flight. The most economical tickets back to England, given the pre-Christmas rush, still hovered around $3,000 per passenger. Beth nearly sprayed her Prosecco across the room. £15,000? She gasped, wide-eyed. They'd need a colossal $15,000 just to return home, unless they're willing to camp out in Rome until after the new year, when fares might drop. But from Anya's increasingly grim descriptions, their current squalid accommodation wouldn't survive another week, let alone until January, without igniting some sort of international health hazard. "This," Beth declared, wiping a tear of laughter from her eye, "is infinitely more thrilling than Christmas morning." She caught my eye, a fleeting apology in her voice. "I know they're your flesh and blood, Alara, but witnessing Serena finally confront the repercussions of her brazen deceit is profoundly gratifying. I had to admit a profound, if conflicted, agreement, though the impact on my grandchildren continued to gnaw at me. Anya, thankfully, seemed to be processing it with a surprising degree of insight. At 16, she was old enough to discern the cold, hard truth. But Kieran, bless his innocent heart, kept asking his parents why Grandma didn't love them anymore. "He'll comprehend it when he's older," I murmured, a pang of sorrow in my chest. Right now, he's merely a witness to his parents' choices playing out, and that, however painful, is an invaluable life lesson. My phone, resting silently on the coffee table, suddenly vibrated. Liam's name flashed across the screen. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the answer button. Beth simply raised an eyebrow, a silent question in her gaze. I let it ring out, allowing it to divert to voicemail. Whatever he had to say, I would listen to it on my own terms, in my own time. The message, when I finally retrieved it, bore a distinctly different tenor from his previous desperate pleas. His voice was calm, almost unnervingly composed, businesslike even. "Mom, I'm aware you're screening my calls, and honestly, I can't blame you. What Serena and I did was wrong, inexcusably wrong. She convinced me it was merely a clever way to ensure a hassle-free family holiday. But leaving you at the airport like that was cruel, and using your money to fund it was nothing short of theft." Beth leaned forward, a flicker of surprise and grudging respect in her expression at this unexpected shift in tone. "I'm calling because I want you to understand that I've managed to secure a way for us to return home. I won't ask you for a single penny, and I won't expect you to magically fix what we've shattered. But I need you to know, unequivocally, that Anya and Kieran had absolutely no part in this scheme. They genuinely believed you were accompanying us until the very last moment. When we finally arrive back in England, Serena and I will face whatever consequences you deem appropriate. But please, I implore you, do not punish the children for our reprehensible mistakes." The message concluded, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. I stared at my phone, a ghost of the son I'd known before his marriage to Serena, the one who accepted responsibility for his actions rather than weaving intricate excuses, flickering in my memory. "Well," Beth commented, breaking the quiet. That was remarkably unexpected. He almost sounded like an adult. Before I could formulate a response, another call came in. This time, an unfamiliar international number registered on the display. The voice on the other end was crisp, authoritative, carrying a distinct Italian inflection. Signora Vance, this is Inspector Rossi from the Polizia di Stato in Rome. I am calling regarding an incident involving members of your family. My blood ran cold, a cascade of horrifying images, accidents, injuries, hospitals, flashing through my mind. Are they hurt? I managed, my voice barely a whisper. What on earth has happened? No, Signora, Inspector Rossi replied, his tone reassuringly firm. They are unharmed, but they are currently in our custody for attempting to abscond from their hotel without settling their outstanding bill. The hotel management contacted us when they tried to, shall we say, abscond from their latest lodgings without settling the outstanding balance. I slumped further into my armchair, Beth's expression morphing into one of profound alarm. They were under questioning, detained. The current arrears on their room and incidentals are approximately $2,000. Inspector Rossi continued, his voice devoid of judgment. Your son maintains there has been a considerable misunderstanding with their travel arrangements, but the establishment insists on immediate payment for their release. €2,000 for 3 days in that budget establishment, plus whatever meager meals they'd charged to the room and other accrued expenses. It seems Serena's desperate gambit to live frugally until they could somehow afford to return home had catastrophically backfired. Inspector, I managed, a tremor in my voice. I must know. Are my grandchildren implicated in this? Are Anya and Kieran involved? The children are with your son and daughter-in-law, Signora Vance. They are not in any legal trouble. No, but they cannot depart until the outstanding bill is resolved. The image of my 16-year-old Anya, struggling to comprehend why Italian police officers were speaking rapid Italian to her father, made my chest tighten with a painful constriction. My sweet Kieran, bless him, likely scared and confused. What are my options, Inspector? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The hotel will accept payment via international wire transfer or credit card. If payment is promptly received, your family can be released without further delay. If not, he paused, a touch of practiced solemnity in his tone, then the Italian legal system will unfortunately need to become involved. I glanced at Beth, who was vigorously shaking her head, mouthing, "Don't you dare, Alara." She was right, of course. Bailing them out now would be a monumental error, sending a resounding message to Liam and Serena that no matter how egregious their behavior, Grandma would ultimately ride to their rescue. But Anya and Kieran, they didn't deserve to spend Christmas Eve in an Italian police precinct. Inspector, can you separate the children from this situation? I asked, a new resolve hardening my tone. Is there somewhere safe for them to stay while their parents contend with their legal issues? We can, of course, contact the British consulate for assistance with the minors, Inspector Rossi replied, his tone pragmatic. However, arranging proper interim guardianship and suitable accommodation will require time, perhaps several days. Several days. Anya and Kieran would spend Christmas in some state-run Italian facility while their parents faced fraud charges. I closed my eyes, a silent prayer escaping my lips, and made a decision I desperately hoped I wouldn't come to regret. I will pay the hotel bill, I stated, my voice firm, but only the core charges, the room and any meals that were explicitly included in the tariff, nothing extra, nothing more. Do you understand? Molto bene, signora, he responded, his tone indicating satisfaction. I will arrange for the hotel to contact you directly for payment information. Your family should be released within the hour. After I ended the call, Beth stared at me, her face a mask of disappointment. Alara, she sighed, you just rewarded their appalling behavior. You gave Serena exactly what she wanted. I saved my grandchildren from spending Christmas in Italian social services, I countered, a sharp edge to my voice. There's a crucial difference. And now Serena knows, Beth retorted, leaning forward, her eyes blazing with conviction. She knows that no matter how far she pushes it, if she puts those children in jeopardy, you'll cave. You'll always rescue them. A cold, hard knot formed in my stomach. I hadn't considered it quite that way, but Beth was terrifyingly accurate. By paying that bill, I had inadvertently handed Serena a precise roadmap for future manipulation, a chilling blueprint that outlined how to weaponize my grandchildren's well-being against me, confident that I would always break. That realization ignited a slow-burning fury within me, more potent and searing than any anger I'd felt thus far. 30 minutes later, my phone rang again. It was Liam. His voice was subdued, a strange blend of gratitude and wariness. "Mom, thank you. I know we absolutely don't deserve your help after everything we did." "You don't," I confirmed, my tone glacial. "I paid that bill for Anya and Kieran, Liam, not for you and Serena." "I understand," he replied, a defeated sigh on the other end. "And I wanted you to know that we've found a way home. My regional manager has agreed to advance me enough money for basic economy flights tomorrow. We'll be back in England on Christmas Day." "Good," I said, choosing my words with deliberate precision. "Liam, when you step off that plane, you and I need to have a very serious conversation about boundaries and about the stark difference between familial support and outright financial exploitation." "I know you're right about everything," he conceded, his voice sounding utterly drained. "And let me be unequivocally clear on one more point," I continued, a new steely resolve entering my voice. "Serena's threat to keep my grandchildren away from me? That particular charade ends now, the very moment she tries to use Anya and Kieran as weapons against me. She will discover precisely how serious I can be about protecting what matters most to me. She will regret it for the rest of her life." The silence on his end was heavy, protracted. It told me he understood, but I had a chilling premonition that the real confrontation, the true reckoning, was still yet to come. They were returning home. Christmas Eve found me cocooned in the serene quiet of my Cotswolds cottage, and Christmas Day, by deliberate design, was a solo affair. The familiar patterns of a lifetime had irrevocably shifted. The once pliant matriarch who had bankrolled every whim for decades had vanished. In her place stood a woman, still finding her footing, who had single-handedly dismantled a $28,000 Roman fantasy with chilling precision. Barely a breath after the Boxing Day sun had risen, my phone chimed. It was Anya. Her voice, fragile and tear-laden, confirmed she was safely back in England. "Grandma, can I please come and see you? Just me, though, not Mom and Dad." "Of course, my love. Do you need me to send a car?" I offered, my heart aching for her evident distress. "Mom says she'll drive me, but she insists on speaking with you first," Anya whispered, a tremor in her voice. A humorless chuckle escaped me. Serena, still clinging to the illusion of control. "Tell your mother she's welcome to deliver you to my doorstep, Anya, but I have absolutely nothing to discuss with her at this moment." Precisely an hour later, a familiar black Range Rover crunched onto my gravel driveway. I watched from the discreet vantage of my living room window as Anya disembarked, her shoulders hunched. Before Serena could even cut the engine, she had already lowered the passenger window, her voice sharp and cutting, slicing through the crisp winter air. "Alara, we must talk." I stepped onto the porch, a silent sentinel against her brazenness. "There is nothing to discuss, Serena," I replied, my voice calm, but with an underlying current of steel. "Your actions have already spoken volumes." She glared, her carefully crafted composure fraying. "Do you have any idea what you've put us through? The humiliation, the sheer terror?" Her voice rose to a near shriek. "Terror? You speak of terror? You stole my money, Serena, and then abandoned me, a woman of 68, at Heathrow Airport for a trip I paid for." "We weren't stealing," she retorted, her face reddening. "We were facilitating precious family memories, memories you always claim you crave." Anya, who had stood frozen, a tragic mediator between two immovable forces, finally moved. "Mom, please, just go," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "You're only making everything worse. Anya, get back in this car, now. We are not finished." Serena spat. I stepped forward, my arm wrapping protectively around Anya's trembling shoulders. "Anya is 16 years old, Serena, and she is welcome in my home any time she chooses. Now drive away." "You can't turn my children against me," Serena screamed, pure venom in her tone. "I haven't turned anyone against you, Serena. You have done that all by yourself." "Anya, darling, go inside and put the kettle on for some hot chocolate," I murmured, gently guiding her towards the door. "Your mother will be departing momentarily." Serena remained for a full minute, engine idling, her eyes burning daggers into us before she finally sped off with a theatrical screech of tires that reverberated across the usually tranquil village green. Inside, Anya sank onto the plush cushions of my antique velvet sofa, the dam of her composure finally breaking. Deep, racking sobs tore through her. "Grandma," she choked out between gasps, "they haven't stopped fighting since we got back. Dad just keeps saying sorry to Mom for letting you embarrass us, and Mom just keeps screaming about how she's never been so utterly humiliated." I silently passed her a box of embroidered linen tissues. "I'm so sorry you're caught in the crossfire of their appalling behavior, my dear." Anya lifted her head, her tear-streaked face now resolute, her gaze direct. She possessed Liam's kind eyes, but in that moment the unyielding strength shining through them was undeniably my own. "I'm not in the middle, Grandma. I know exactly what happened. Mom showed me the bank statements yesterday," she said, her voice gaining strength. "She wanted to prove to me how incredibly generous you'd been over the years, thinking it would make me feel guilty about what you did in Rome." "And what did those statements reveal, Anya?" I asked, a knot forming in my stomach. "Everything, Grandma. Every single transfer, every check you've written for the past 5 years, their mortgage payments, the car loans, our school fees, Christmas gifts, pocket money, even regular top-ups for groceries. Tens of thousands of pounds a year, Grandma. Last year alone, it was over 45,000, and that doesn't even count the Rome trip." I sank into the armchair opposite her, the sheer scale of my unwitting financial stewardship suddenly starkly, brutally clear. Mom thought showing me those figures would convince me that we were entitled to your money, that you owed us because we're family. But all it proved to me, Anya continued, her voice devoid of tears now, replaced by a quiet fury, was that you've been propping us up for years, getting nothing back but endless demands and increasingly brazen exploitation. Kieran and I had no idea, Grandma. We never asked for any of it. We didn't know about the mortgage payments or the car loans, or that half our lives were being financed by you. We just thought Dad had a really successful job. "I know, sweetheart," I murmured, covering her hand with mine. "And what's more, Mom's already plotting her next maneuver. She was on the phone with Dad's regional manager yesterday, trying to coerce him into giving Liam an exorbitant raise so they can maintain their utterly unsustainable lifestyle without having to dip into what she calls your sentimental generosity fund." Serena's twisted logic, which she framed as reclaiming what was rightfully ours, sent a shiver down my spine. It was glaringly obvious that this entire ordeal hadn't been a lesson in consequence for her, but rather a workshop in refining her tactics of exploitation. "Anya, my dear," I began, my voice laced with concern, "I need you to be brutally honest with me. Do you feel secure at home? Are your parents' frustrations about me boiling over onto you or Kieran?" Her hesitation was a heavy silence. "They haven't physically hurt us," she finally managed, her voice barely a whisper. "But the arguments are relentless, and they keep trying to pit us against each other. Mom demands we condemn you for destroying our holiday, and Dad constantly asks if we see him as a failure because of all this." That single conversation with Anya ignited a steely resolve within me, crystallizing a decision that would redefine our future. The following morning, I contacted my solicitor, Mr. Alistair Finch, scheduling an urgent meeting for later that day. Anya's distraught words had replayed in my mind throughout the long night, alongside the staggering $45,000 I'd transferred to them last year alone. Serena's chilling reparations remark, combined with the established pattern of their insatiable avarice, left no doubt. Their exploitative behavior wouldn't cease merely because they'd been publicly humiliated in Rome. Alistair listened intently, his pen occasionally scratching across the parchment as he absorbed every detail of my narrative. When I concluded, he settled back, a profound sigh escaping him. "Alara," he began, his voice gravely serious, "what you've endured is a textbook example of elder financial exploitation. The painful truth that it originates from your own kin does not in any way diminish the severity of the offense. I intend to revise my last will and testament, I declared, my voice unwavering, and I wish to establish clear, legally enforceable parameters. Alistair raised an eyebrow, prompting, "What precisely do you envision, Ilara?" "I want to create independent educational trusts for Anya and Kieran," I explained, "to cover their university, postgraduate studies, or any vocational training they might pursue. Crucially, these funds must be fully protected, entirely beyond their parents' grasp for personal use." Alistair offered a rare, approving nod. "An exceedingly prudent measure. And your remaining assets?" "Liam and Serena," I stated, the words firm, "will be entirely removed as beneficiaries. My estate, my home, my investments, everything apart from the children's education funds will be bequeathed to charitable organizations." His expression registered a flicker of surprise. "Are you absolutely certain, Ilara? That constitutes a rather substantial alteration." I paused, allowing the memories of the past 5 years to flood my consciousness. Memories of incessant demands, of check after check, written without a moment of genuine appreciation. The image of being abandoned at Heathrow, having funded their extravagant Roman fantasy, and Serena's chilling declaration about money not buying a place where one is fundamentally unwelcome, solidified my resolve. "I am unequivocally certain," I affirmed, "but I want them informed of this amendment immediately. No posthumous revelations." Alistair assured me the updated will would be meticulously drafted and formally witnessed within the week. As New Year's Eve approached, I extended an invitation to Liam and Serena for what I described as a pivotal family discussion at my home. Anya and Kieran, fortunately, were at a friend's New Year's Eve celebration, precisely as I'd intended. They arrived punctually, yet seated themselves at the extreme ends of my antique Chesterfield sofa, the palpable tension between them thick enough to cut with a knife. Serena's eyes were shadowed with exhaustion, her usual impeccable facade severely cracked. Liam, meanwhile, compulsively checked his phone, as if anticipating a miraculous, urgent call that would whisk him away from the looming confrontation. "I've asked you here," I began, my voice resonating with uncharacteristic gravity, "because we need to address the very foundations of our future relationship. What transpired in Rome has afforded me a stark and illuminating clarity." Serena opened her mouth to interject, but I raised a hand, silencing her. "Over the past 5 years," I continued, my gaze unwavering, "I have, by my own meticulous calculation, transferred in excess of $200,000 to you. That encompasses your mortgage installments, vehicle financing, various holidays, numerous emergencies, school fees, Christmas generosity, and even regular grocery top-ups. I endorsed every check without a second thought, genuinely believing I was fostering and supporting my cherished family." Liam's complexion paled to an ashen gray. "Mom, we never expected you to itemize it all," he stammered, his voice barely audible. "No," I retorted, a cutting edge in my tone. "You simply expected it to continue indefinitely. But the events at Heathrow revealed a truth I can no longer ignore. You do not perceive me as family. You perceive me as a boundless financial instrument. A bottomless well to be tapped at your convenience. Serena made that perfectly explicit when she sneered about my money not securing a place where I was fundamentally unwelcome." Serena, finally finding her voice, bristled. "You're deliberately misrepresenting the situation. We merely desired some personal space to relish our holiday without the added burden of catering to your specific requirements." "My requirements?" I echoed, a short, bitter laugh escaping me. "Serena, I am a vigorous 68 years old, not on the brink of decrepitude. I don't require assistance with mobility, sustenance, or basic personal care. The only accommodation you would have needed to make was affording me basic human respect and including me in the family vacation that I unilaterally funded." I reached for the folder Mr. Finch had meticulously prepared, its crisp legal documents feeling strangely heavy in my hands. "Since you've made it abundantly clear that my financial contributions do not secure a place for me within this family," I articulated, each word a carefully placed stone, "I am permanently withdrawing those contributions." I slid the folder across the polished surface of the coffee table towards Liam. Consider this a formal cessation of all future financial assistance. No more quarterly mortgage contributions, no more vehicle lease payments, no more urgent transfers for unforeseen expenses. You are both employed adults. You are entirely capable of self-sufficiency. Liam, whose earlier paleness had deepened, snatched the documents, his eyes darting across the legalese. "Mom, you can't just obliterate our lifeline like this," he stammered, his voice laced with genuine panic. "I'm not obliterating anything, Liam. I am simply acknowledging your stated desire for independence. You are no longer children. You are independent adults. Act accordingly." Serena, her eyes narrowed to furious slits, snatched the papers from Liam. As her gaze scrolled down the pages, her carefully constructed composure shattered. The initial flicker of confusion morphed into dawning disbelief, which then ignited into a volatile blaze of incandescent rage. You've amended your entire estate plan," she shrieked, the words tearing through the quiet living room. "You're bequeathing everything to obscure charities. Anya and Kieran, yes, they have untouchable educational trusts to secure their futures. But beyond that, your substantial assets are now earmarked for institutions you deem more deserving than your own family." The silence that followed Serena's outburst was short-lived, quickly replaced by a cacophony of accusations. Serena launched into a tirade about my vengeful, vindictive nature and manipulative tactics. Liam, visibly torn between trying to placate his wife and salvage his own position, attempted to interject with frantic pleas for reconsideration. I, however, remained an unmoving sentinel in my armchair, observing their unraveling with a detached serenity. This wasn't merely a conversation. It was a front-row seat to the dramatic implosion of their meticulously constructed financial dependency. As a last desperate gambit, Serena's voice dropped to a chillingly venomous register. "Fine. If this is how you choose to play, Alara, then you will never see Anya or Kieran again. Our family is done with your cruel games." A small, knowing smile touched my lips. "Serena," I stated calmly, "Anya is already 16 and Kieran is 14. In less than 18 months, Anya will be 18 and legally empowered to make her own choices about who she spends time with. Kieran will be right behind her. Are you truly prepared to be remembered as the parent who deliberately alienated her children from their loving grandmother, all over money?" The fight visibly drained from her, leaving her shoulders slumped. The truth of my words resonated. She knew that attempting to weaponize my grandchildren against me would inevitably backfire, corroding her own bond with them. 6 months melted into a serene summer, and I found myself in my Cotswolds garden, a steaming mug of Earl Grey in hand, relishing the scent of blooming roses. My gaze fell upon a handwritten letter from Anya. She was thriving, preparing for her university enrollment in the autumn, her tuition and living expenses fully secured by the independent trust I'd established. Kieran, too, was flourishing. His weekly calls were filled with enthusiastic updates on his junior football league and budding passion for digital art. My relationship with Liam, while polite, now carried an unspoken, almost reverential distance, founded on a newly discovered mutual respect. Serena and I, however, maintained a profound and mutually satisfying silence. It was a peace hard won, but utterly invaluable. At 68, I had finally absorbed a vital truth. Authentic affection requires no collateral, no constant infusions of capital. Those who truly cherish you will demonstrate it freely. All others merely present invoices for unearned sentiment. I was unequivocally finished funding a love that had proven to be nothing more than a transactional illusion. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey. Please subscribe and share your own experiences below. Your narrative is significant.